Camila Reyes toured the company corridors as if they were part of a silent choreography that only she knew. His shift started before he arrived the sun, when he building still slept under lights dim and monitors off, with his blue bucket in one hand and a folded rag in the another, greeted with a silent smile to the security guards who rarely responded. At that hour, only the echo of their footsteps you toward company. Despite the grey uniform and hands cracked by the cleaning products, Camila didn't feel less. Inside, she wore a whole world. She had a degree in literature from the National University of Columbia, spoke 9 languages, and, in the nights, he taught his daughter irregular verbs in French while they cooked rice with lentils. There was arrived in that country 5 years ago with a rap title in a plastic bag and the eyes full of dreams. But the titles did not clean bathrooms, and interviews with him, they closed the doors one after another. Overqualified, they said, no local experience. So he agreed. He cleaning work with the same dignity with the one who had corrected the thesis in Bogota. The building where he worked, it seemed another world. Marble polished, people in a hurry with cell phones in holding hands, expensive coffees, and meetings that seemed concerts of words empty. Nobody knew his name. For everyone, it was simply the one with the cleaning. But Camila listened, she watched, she learned. As always, there was made. That Tuesday at Tomorrow, everything changed with a minute detail. A foreign visitor, confused and visibly frustrated, stopped in the reception looking for the conference room. He spoke French quickly, using desperate gestures that no one employee understood. Camila, from the background of the hallway, approached without make noise. He spoke to her with serenity, in a French impeccable, indicating to him he path, and offering him a bottle of water with a shy smile. "The man, you," he thanked her, relieved. What Camila didn't know was that from the second floor, the new CEO, Rodrigo Assis, had witnessed the full scene through the glass. He frowned, surprised, and made a mental note of his name for the first time. If you ever felt like no one, I saw your effort. This channel is for you. Subscribe now and don't miss its stories that deserve to be heard. The next one surprise occurred in a meeting room during a visit by a group of Arab diplomats. A misunderstanding with the interpreter caused confusion among the assistants, and the executives were starting to get impatient. Camila, who was discreetly cleaning a corner, raised the view. He came closer with respect, and in perfect Arabic, he explained what the interpreter had failed to translate. The silence was immediately, one of the diplomats told him, replied with a friendly laugh, relieved. Rodrigo, who also was present, looked with different eyes. That was the second breaking point. I could no longer consider a coincidence. The woman that many they ignored it was a bridge between cultures. Didn't happen a lot time before it was repeated the scene. During a video conference with a Japanese company, the machine translator failed and the meeting was paralyzed. Camila, who was cleaning a glass of a window, heard the problem and, with a soft but confident voice, intervened in Japanese, corrected the error, and the meeting was able to continue. The executives were stunned. One even asked his name, but she just said, "Camila, I'm of the cleaning team." That humility, far from overshadowing his talent, toward even more evident. Rodrigo, impressed, asked talk with she in private that same day. I wanted to understand his history. For the first time, someone within that company asked who Camila Reyes really was. In the small break room, Camila told his history without embellishment. He spoke of his childhood in Medellin, of his love for the words, since childhood, of the nights awake studying while worked to help his mother. He told her his achievement graduate with honors in literature and how, after losing her husband in an accident, decided to look for a new beginning in another country. He brought with him his degree, an old suitcase, and his daughter of 7 years. Rodrigo listened in silence, without interrupt her not once. When finished, he asked why he had never tried a position worthy of his formation. Camila smiled with, sadness and said, "Because no one wanted listen to me before. Something like this happened to you. Leave your comment. And if you want to keep watching stories that move the soul, subscribe to the channel. It's free, but it's worth a lot." That conversation was the beginning of a profound change. The following week, Rodrigo presented a proposal to the board to create a new position in the company focused on cultural and linguistic mediation. Camila would be the first in occupy it. Some objected. A cleaner in the executive area, they murmured several with skepticism, but Rodrigo was firm. Camila speaks 9 languages, and most importantly, he knows how to listen. The news spread throughout the hallways like a gust. While some applauded the initiative, others could not hide their discomfort. Camila, however, was not worried the looks. He accepted the charge with humility, knowing that it was not a gift, but a recognition late. The first day in his new position was received with a mixture of surprise and tension. Camila left the grey uniform and wore a simple blouse and a pants dark. He walked with the same calm posture, but now was wearing a red notebook in the hand where he wrote down phrases, expressions and observations of each culture with the one who worked. Rodrigo officially presented at a general meeting, explaining his role and his history. Some employees felt uncomfortable. They didn't know as treat her. Was it the same as them? Emptied the bin last week. Camila didn't mean to fit in their molds. I preferred to remain same, with the dignity of whom has come a long way without losing the essence. Little by little, his presence began to generate an unexpected effect. Sales teams began consulting him before submitting proposals international. The human resources area will ask support to improve inclusive language in the hiring. Even the most skeptical executives, they ended up recognizing your contribution. When a negotiation with a German company, he was saved thanks to its accurate translation of a technical contract. Camila wasn't looking for recognition, but what he did was too valuable to pass up unnoticed. The company, unwittingly, began to transform from within. And everything had started with a woman who, for years, had been invisible. If this part moved you, subscribe, because here we don't just tell stories, we give voice to the invisible. One of the most significant changes were the creation of the workshop, Languages That Liberate, an initiative of Camila with her Rodrigo's support. The workshop was not just a language course, it was an experience of empathy. There we talked about the history behind each language, about the towns, the resistances, the losses and the inheritances, cultural. Camila mixed her academic knowledge with anecdotes personal, which made each session was deeply human. In a short time, the workshop became in reference within the company. Everyone from interns to directors attended, and for the first time, many they understood that speaking a language was also opening a door to another way of seeing the world. Meanwhile, the relationship with his daughter also grew stronger. Every night, they shared simple dinners accompanied by laughter and conjugations verbal. The girl, who was previously embarrassed that her mother cleaned offices, now looked with pride. One day, seeing her prepare a class for the workshop, he said, "I want to be like you, Mom. I want to learn to talk with everyone." Camila, the hug in silence. There was no prize nor promotion that was worth more than those words. And in his red notebook, where he recorded expressions in different languages, he noted that phrase in capital letters, like a reminder that her struggle had meaning. For her daughter, and for so many other invisible people. But not everyone celebrated his rise. There was who could not stand see her in meetings or being consulted by strategic areas. One of them was the director of operations, Marcelo Torres, who, since the principal there was made it clear that that woman had nothing to do in a decision room. During a meeting, he made a derogatory comment about your accent when speaking English. Camila, without altering her voice, replied in English, British perfect, then in French, and finally in Mandarin. The room was in silence. Rodrigo immediately intervened and requested an internal conduct review discriminatory. Marcelo was removed from his position weeks later. The company, which once ignored, now the defended. With the time, your influence transcended the walls of the building. Other companies began to take an interest in his work and invite her to conferences on inclusion, diversity, linguistics, and equity in the work environment. Camila attended with the same modesty with which one day came in to clean desks. He had no titles or he flaunted his history, spoke firmly but also with tenderness, achieving that those who they listen connect from an intimate place. In one of those talks, a young man is approached and he said, "Thank you. My mother, too, cleans offices and has never felt that his history mattered." Camila said, hugged, "I knew that was his true victory. Do you know someone like Camila? Share this video with her and subscribe to the channel so that together we can continue to raise awareness for those who are vulnerable." It deserved 1 year after his change of position, the company organized an event to highlight stories of overcoming within the team. Rodrigo opened the ceremony, but it was Camila who held with a speech that no one I would forget. I didn't use projector, no notes. He just stood in front of the microphone with his red notebook in his hand and said, "Sometimes, the most valuable thing about a person is not seen in a resume, neither in the position he holds, but in what you have overcome to get here." Then briefly told his history, not to inspire pity, but to invite us to look beyond the titles and the appearances. The ovation, it was long and sincere. Some they cried, others, for the first time, reflected. After the event, many employees approached her with words that would never have been before said, "Sorry for not having seen you. Thank you for teaching me to listen. Your story gave me hope to continue." Camila received each phrase with a calm smile. She never sought recognition, but now that I had it used to open doors for others. He helped launch an internal scholarship program for maintenance and cleaning employees who wanted to continue their studies. 3 women and a young started racing university students that same year, thanks to its support. Camila's legacy was no longer just linguistic. It was human. It was an echo that was beginning to multiply. With the passage of the time, Camila began to receive proposals to leave the company and take on positions in organizations international. They offered him best salaries, travel, prestige. But I hesitated, not out of fear, but because I felt that I still had something to build where he was. Rodrigo, upon learning of this, called his office and said frankly, "I want you to stay, but I want you to be happy. Whatever you decide, I will respect it." That night, at home, Camila wrote for hours on his red notebook. It wasn't an easy decision. In the end, he chose stay another year, but with one condition: to form a team with other invisible people in the company so that they could develop professionally. This is how it was born, the Open Doors project, led by Camila and a small group of collaborators from different areas ignored for years. Security, kitchen, messaging. Together, they designed a training plan that combined digital literacy, language classes, career guidance, and mentoring. Rodrigo achieved budget. Without doubt, the impact was immediately. Within 6 months, several participants had changed positions within the company. Camila accompanied at every step, not as a boss, but as a guide. I knew what it felt like to be invisible, and now, what he wanted most was for no one else to have to go through what he's saying. One afternoon, while organized materials for the workshop, Camila noticed that her daughter was leafing through her red notebook with attention. I read words in Swahili, notes in Russian, phrases in Hebrew. "All this you wrote you?" he asked with astonishment. Camila nodded. "They are words that have come to me accompanied in difficult times," she replied. The girl held carefully and said, "Can I have it someday?" Camila didn't answer immediately. Years ago, that notebook was his shelter, your map, your silent resistance. Now, see it in the hands of his daughter. You gave a new meaning. Perhaps I no longer needed protect him. Maybe it was time to give him up. The day he turned 5 in the company, Rodrigo organized a lunch surprise. There were old colleagues, new ones employees, and even members from the Open Doors team. There was words of thanks, shared memories, and many smiles. At the end of the event, Camila took the word briefly. He thanked everyone for having listened, for having believed in she. Then she took out his red notebook from the bag and it placed on the table in front of him, "Daughter, now it's yours, not for you to keep, but for you to fill up." The girl it hugged like someone receives a treasure. It was a simple but powerful moment. Like everything there was, made Camila from day one. Camila's story became part of the company's culture. Her name appeared in the induction manuals as an example of improvement and silent leadership. But beyond the recognitions, which is truly change, was the way people looked at the others. The employees began to learn the names from the cleaning staff, to ask about their stories, to offer aid when necessary. The distance between departments was shortened. Respect. It stopped being an occasional gesture and became in a habit. Camila had planted something much deeper than words. A new way of living together. A journalist found out of the Open Doors project and asked to interview her. At first, Camila hesitated. She didn't like the spotlights, but he accepted with one condition, that the article included the entire team. The interview was published under the title, "The Woman Who Transformed a Company Without Raise the Voice." On social networks, the story went viral. People from different countries shared their own Camila stories. Mothers, grandparents, migrants, invisible workers fighting to be recognized beyond of the uniform. Camila did not respond to the comments, but I read them all with tears in my eyes, I understood that it was no longer just a personal story. It was a mirror for many. Over time, other companies began to replicate the Open Doors model. Some they invited Camila as an external advisor. Others they were simply inspired in his methodology. Despite the external interest, she remained faithful to its initial purpose, that no one within its environment felt that their voice did not matter. It maintained his tidy desk, decorated with phrases in different languages and drawings of his daughter. Although his position was now managerial, he never stopped passing by the break room to say hello and thank those who they cleaned the glasses or attended the reception. Your leadership was not based in hierarchies, but in humanity. Years later, Camila was invited to an international forum on inclusion and diversity. In front of hundreds of people from different countries, she recounted his experience with a calmness that was more moving than any elaborate speech. "I didn't come to tell how I went from cleaning offices to speaking in forums. I came to remember that talent doesn't always scream. Sometimes it cleans in silence the corners of the world." The room gave a standing ovation, not out of pity, not out of heroism, but because of the real weight of his words. At that moment, Camila didn't represent just one story among many. She represented all the ignored voices that, when finally heard, changed the course of everything. In the last page of your ancient red notebook, wrote a sentence in 9 languages, that no one have to hide their light to fit in. Then it's saved in a box, along with the first letter of his daughter written in Portuguese, one of the languages she was started studying. Camila was not looking to close cycles or to withdraw as a symbol. He continued working, teaching, learning, because his history was never about the rise, but about the possibility of looking with others' eyes. Today, every time someone in that company pronounces his name, they don't think in the lady of the cleaning. They think in Camila Reyes, the woman who taught to speak all the languages that really matter. Did you make it to the end? Then you know it's worth it. Subscribe to the channel, activate the Tinkerbell, and help us continue telling stories that matter.